Hi, everybody. Again, my name is Antoinette Bizimana. I am a holistic nutritionist, and what I work with people generally is to help them regain their vitality, their health by resetting the metabolism. And today we're just going to talk about the different aspect of metabolism. And as we go with the different videos that I'm going to make going forward, is going to be focused on what are the things that affect our metabolism and why are they important. And really, the metabolism and this situation, we're going to talk about insulin. We're going to talk about thyroid. We're going to talk about the functionality of cortisol, and then also the other elements that really affect our metabolism. So today we're just going to really try to emphasize on insulin and what is insulin, what does it do, why is it important to pay attention to that. That's because insulin has multiple functionality. So insulin not only it helps with our metabolism very importantly, but it also helps with our brain function. Insulin is going to help with memory and learning as well. It plays a very important role. Insulin also plays an important role in terms of our muscles, rebuilding muscles. So especially in a situation where you had an injury and you need to rebuild muscles, so insulin becomes very important. So really, insulin is not as a bad guy. It's very important to our body. So it was created into our body for a reason, right? It's there for a reason. And we're just going to talk about in terms of metabolism and how it affects us when we have things like insulin resistant, right? When we go to our doctors and they mention, they tell to you that you are insulin resistant. What does that mean? How does that affect you? What are the things that you can possibly do? And if you don't know that you are, what are the tests can you do? Because knowing that is going to affect your metabolism, and most of people, they just say, oh, my metabolism is slow. It's just minimized, but it's slow for many factors that is affecting your metabolism. So these are the things like I'm just going to explain what insulin is. Insulin is basically it's how it happens. Insulin resistance happens when your cells are not responding correctly to the insulin that is produced by your body. So you can just look at it in insulin as probably a key, and then your cell it is the door, right? And when you have insulin resistance is when you have that key, and the moment you want to put it through the door is locked. Like the key is not functioning, the door is not letting, the key is not functioning properly, right? And the other time of insulin resistance is also in the situation where your pancreas, because it's the one that produces the insulin, is not producing enough, or it's done of producing completely enough of insulin, because it's sick and tired when it gets produced over and over, and then it just stops. It's like, well, I'm not going to do this anymore. So you see, there's different ways where you can have insulin resistance. So when it comes to why it's important in terms of a metabolism, is because the insulin is the one that stores what we call sugar, glucose, right? And if that's not happening correctly, that's problematic, because you do not want your blood to be flooded with sugar, which is glucose, because that it will be a very big disaster, right? And nobody wants to be experiencing that. So, and glucose really, it's nothing but energy. And every single cell in the human in that exists has glucose. So it's very essential for existence. And our body does know how to produce glucose when you need it. It's going to absolutely figure out a way to produce glucose. Now, when we consume food that have tremendously amount of, like for instance, carbohydrate that are going to be translated into glucose once we consume them in our body, then that is going to that may cause insulin resistance. Things like sugar, things like refined carbohydrate, that's going to cause it. So just be aware of that, because those things, they're going to cause that condition, which is going to cause your metabolism to be slow long term if nothing is done for that. All right. So, given that we are busy, and sometimes when I make these videos, just really to give you a shortcut of a lot of readings, and this video, I'm going to also include the material if you're a person who enjoy reading and want to figure out and the codes and wanting to inform yourself, because again, this is more information to help you, not to diagnose you for any condition. That's why your practitioners become very, very important in this subject. So, to just give you a nice quick summary that you can go to, and then just give you a quick information that you can use and be practical for it. So, in terms of testing, when do you know that you have an insulin resistance? There's different ways to really figure out if you have insulin resistance. There's what I call subjective status testing, and there's what I call objective testing. So, subjective testing, and really to understand your whole human and to understand you as an individual, because every person is unique. What I'm experiencing may be 100% from the other person, but we have the same problem, right? So, and no one is going to understand you better than yourself. So that's why it's very important for you to know how to express yourself when you meet a practitioner, how to say, because a practitioner is not going to know you better than you know yourself. So you are the master of yourself. So knowing how to express yourself, that helps in terms of subjective testing. And then we have the objective test, which I'll kind of name the different tests that you can do that will help you in terms of your subjective objective testing. So when it comes to subjective testing, there are things that you may want to be looking for when it comes to insulin resistance. If you're a person who craves sugar on regular basis, if you're a person who craves carbohydrate on regular basis, you feel fatigued, and you're a person who feel like, oh my goodness, every time I just forget anything and everything, right? Those are the things that you may be experiencing, and those are maybe possible signs of insulin resistance. There's another thing that actually some people may experience more than others, is going to be feeling tired after you have a meal, especially a carbohydrate-based meal, right? That is where you can also know that probably maybe my insulin resistant is not definitive, right? That's one part of the equation. Remember, the subjective, kind of testing evaluation, and then there's objective. Now, when it comes to the objective evaluation, the possible test that you can do, or talk to your doctor about, again, mentioning that you and your doctor, I want to mention, or the practitioner, whoever you're working with, whether it's your doctor, practitioner, nutrition, dietitian, you are partners, right? It's really to emphasize on the importance of not totalitarian system, but a partnership system where you talk to them, you express yourself, and then they talk to you as a person who understands what you're going through. Because I'll tell you this, actually, providers, when they see that you know one thing or two, they also give you more respect and they give you more attention. So this is best for you to just kind of know and just educate yourself about all this. So when it comes to the to the objective testing, because I just mentioned about the subjective testing, is going to be doing things like fasting insulin. You want to do the fasting insulin test. You want to do the glucose, the fasting glucose test. You want to do the A1C. A1C, that's the one that determines if you're diabetic or not diabetic and long term. And for mothers, expecting mothers, they also do another test that gives that very thick, sugary substance to drink every certain amount of hours to see if they're really developing any diabetes during the pregnancy. So those are the really cold tests that are going to determine if you're insulin resistant. So if you have those subjective evaluation and you find yourself you're in those category, you want to speak with a provider so you can do those tests, those objective tests, and then you coming together can determine if you have that situation. So if you have that condition, again, these are just tips to give you out. What are the possible things? Because most of the things I've gone through and experiencing with my clients is that most when they come for help is that, well, my doctor determined that I was vitamin D deficient. And I was like, okay, that's very good information. You're vitamin D deficient. And then what happened after? Well, they told me they prescribed me a vitamin D and they took it for 2 weeks. And then after that, I stopped taking it. I was like, oh, wow, did you understand the importance of vitamin D? So, by the way, I really talk about vitamin D tremendously with every person I meet. So, this is why we've been talking about it right now, because it's extremely important and crucial in many processes in our body. So vitamin D, and unfortunately, the majority of us, as much information that is there about vitamin D, majority of humanity is deficient in vitamin D, which is very interesting because the natural way you can get it from the sun. We have the sun, most of it, other than us who live in the northern hemisphere, and then probably we don't have as much exposure to vitamin D. But even those who have extreme access to the sun, they're also deficient in vitamin D. It's very interesting. So please pay attention to your vitamin D. Pay attention to your vitamin D. All right. And so going back to the subject is just when I meet with clients, they tell me, well, this is the deficiency I had, but they told me these supplements. I did not understand how important it was until they meet somebody who just takes time, a little bit of extra 5 minutes to explain the importance and the role of these nutrients in our body, that they now take it more seriously. So this is a call for us providers, really spend an extra 2 minutes just explaining to the people we are serving the importance of all these different nutrients, especially vitamin D. So they go there and then they don't understand, and they do not even understand. All right, so not understanding what is important and what the possible things you can do. So when it comes to insulin resistance, there are things that you can do. You can do today, like as you listen to this video, as you watch. There are certain things that you can do. First of all, if you're insulin resistant, you want to focus on food. I preach food, I talk food because food has really shown me how powerful it is, right? And as I mentioned most of the time, food plays both roles. It plays the positive role and it plays the negative role. The question is, what type of food do you choose to? There's that food that is healing and that's food that is killing. So you pick and choose. When you're insulin resistant, you better go for the food that is healing, because for you to be insulin resistant is because you probably have focused on the food that is killing and probably you're not aware of it. And just keeping that in consideration. So the food that is most healing when it comes to insulin resistance is going to be all the greens, right? Let's focus on the greens. Let's focus on leafy greens. Let's focus on broccoli. Let's focus on asparagus. And then also making sure that you are taking things that helps clean your system, like apple cider vinegar. Just get some apple cider vinegar, and that is going to help you clean your system. Apple cider vinegar has many benefits. So if it's something you want to read about, you want to know, if it's the first time you hear apple cider vinegar, I really encourage you to learn more about it. Or I'll make a short videos if you don't have time, you're busy, you don't have time for that. I'll still make that because that's the whole objective of us busy life that we're living today. And you want to also focus on healthy fats. That means avocado. You want to focus on nuts. You want to focus on flax seeds is another one that you can use as well, and other things that you can do when it comes to this, because insulin resistance is also, it can also be a question of toxins. That's another one I'll make too. Toxins, and you want to focus on anti-inflammatory antioxidant fruits that are going to help you clean out the cells, that cell that does not want to accept the key anymore, and make sure that you're focused on low glycemic foods. And when it comes to fruits, I'll emphasize on focusing on the berry families. That means blueberries, strawberries, cranberries, but I'll mention a lot of cranberries out there. Look at the ingredients. Most of the ingredients that are out there, they do have a lot of sugar added to it. And that's the last thing you want to put into your system, a lot of sugar, or even fruits that have too much sugar. You want to avoid those ones until at least this part of insulin resistant problem is healed, right? And then you want to also focus on protein. You want to focus on proteins. And you want to focus on fiber, right? When the leafy greens, all the greens, they do have fiber as well. So that fiber is going to help you. And the flaxseed has fiber. So that one was to mention that. And make sure that you have those fibers and the protein on your meals, on every single meal that you take. Because sometimes people will be like, oh, I have this problem. I don't eat my lunch. I don't eat my dinner. I only eat once a day. Certain situation, when you have certain condition, you probably want it to be having kind of a rhythm, a regular thing, until that problem is taken care of, and then you can go back to your the regular routine. The other aspect is just you want to walk. Walk is a prescription that I give to every person. You need to walk. Walk, it's very beneficial. Mental health, it helps you mentally, it helps you physically, it helps you emotionally, it helps you in all the other system. It helps drain your system because the lymphatic system does not drain itself. So walking is one of the things that you're doing without knowing. And also, again, mentioning, as I mentioned earlier, you want to avoid any sugars, right? You want to avoid any sugar. You want to avoid any processed food that may have caused that discrepancy. The other one I'll mention into that, which I'll say another one too, and another one too, and another one too, is going to be stay very well hydrated, right? Hydration. Your metabolism is going to be slowed down if you are dehydrated. Your insulin is going to be affected if you're hydration. Your insulin is going to be affected if you're not very well hydrated. So keep all that in mind. And then also sleep. Sleep. That's the one I'll emphasize more. Sleep is very important for every single hormone in our body. Your metabolism is not going to work efficiently if you do not get enough time to sleep and rest your body, right? It's just going to make your insulin resistance even worse if you don't get enough amount of sleep. Well, so this is all what I just wanted to mention for this round where we're talking about insulin and your metabolism. I hope this was a nice and quick way of where you can help yourself, where you can start making some actions, because your health is your wealth. I mean, your health is your wealth. And the reason why I say the health is your wealth is really your health is your wealth. There are certain things in life you cannot achieve or get to if your health is not there, right? It's basically almost everything, right? If my health is not well, I cannot think properly, I cannot function properly, I can not take care of people properly. There's so many factors that, like, every aspect of our life is really dependent on our health. So please take good care of your health. It's important. It's an investment. So again, I'll put more information down here for the resources of where you can read more about this, for where you can educate more about yourself. But this gives you like kind of a nice, quick way where you can check where you stand, where you can test yourself, possible things that you can eat, and what you can do immediately to help you if you have any insulin resistance. If you do not have but you have the subjective symptoms, get it checked. Just get it checked. Ask your doctor, ask your practitioner, whoever you're working with, ask them if there's a possibility for them to check for this, and that's going to be nothing but beneficial for your health. Again, in terms of your metabolism, the next subject that I'll be talking about is going to be the thyroid, dysfunctionality and metabolism. So if you want to boost your metabolism, absolutely make sure that your values are the optimal levels. This is nothing but sharing and caring. Sharing is caring, and that's the whole objective. Again, this is informational. Information is not here to diagnose you. It's there to help you work in partnership with your doctor. It's best for you to, when they speak, you understand the language they're speaking. It makes everybody efficient, and it makes everybody succeed to this new world that we are creating for a better and healthier you. All right, thank you for listening. And please, for extra information, subscribe, listen to the next video that's going to explain a little bit more about how the metabolism is affected by the thyroid dysfunctionality and many others on this subject. All right, thank you so much, and see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.